It's the AZ Wildcats post-game podcast. Have not said that in a long time. Seth Doege, did he save our offense? And we're running out of room on the damn turnover sword. Stick around, leave a like, don't go anywhere.
Welcome on in, guys, to the AZ Wildcats Podcast, live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. And Kevin, I will give you a little extra energy on that live, because the Arizona Wildcats are victorious, undefeated, 1-0, and we're going to be very rational about it on the AZ Wildcats post-game show. Appreciate everybody for being here. The Arizona Wildcats win 40-6 over the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. And Kevin, man, we are back. We are well and truly back. Football is fun again.
I am fired up. Football in Arizona, specifically in Tucson, is fun again, and we're going to get into all of the reasons why on tonight's post-game show. Thank you all for being with us. Leave a like. I know we are all happy to see Arizona football back into the win column in a real way. Damon, a 40-6 W over the Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii. Micah Alejado not able to finish the game. I tweeted about it halfway through that I don't think he should finish this game if Hawaii wants to compete in the Mountain West Conference. What are you risking at that point? We're going to get into that. Seth Doege and this offense, complete 180 shift from last year to now. But what is your first and foremost reaction? Because I think mine is that this program is fun again, and that the football that Arizona is going to put on our TV screens this year is not going to repulse us away from the TV screen like it did last year.
Yeah, I think that's the easy number one takeaway is just, thankfully we don't have to watch whatever we watched in 2024. And you can see tonight, like, this coaching staff was just up to par. This coaching staff was not out of their depth. And it felt, like I mentioned on the pregame show, Kevin, and we'll be doing a pregame show 30 minutes prior to every kickoff this season, so be here for that. But I mentioned on the pregame show, like, this is, a team where last season, like, the New Mexico game off the jump, the NAU game in week 2, like, they looked out of their depth against those coaching staffs, Big Sky, Mountain West coaching staffs. And the additions to Brent Brennan's staff tonight, Seth Doege promoting, Danny Gonzales, Craig Navar, like, everything was working. And the Wildcats, probably maybe like the score line is a little bit larger than maybe it felt, especially in that first half in particular. But just an all around, kind of dominant performance from the Cats tonight.
Yeah, and you talked about the pregame show. Let's go ahead and break down the keys to the game. It looks like it's my keys, but in this case, me and Damon agreed so much that it was our keys. Key number 1, check.
Bang.
Establish the run game early. Key number 2, check.
Bang. Pressure
Micah Alejado. Pressured him so much he had to leave the game. Key number 3, check. Make a statement.
Bang.
Win by 3+ touchdowns. I think that Arizona's ability to complete all these keys were obviously a reason for their W, but the establishment of the run game is the one I want to talk about the most. We talk about Kedrick Reescano and Quincy Craig. Not a whole lot of talk about Ishmael Ahmadi tonight, which we can get to later. It's a bit of a surprise in that realm of things. But Kedrick Reescano, if he could be the bell cow for this Arizona offense, and if Quincy Craig can kind of be that home run hitter, the Arizona, it's one of my biggest takeaways. The running back room is absolutely loaded with explosive playmakers. Yeah. You have speed, power, and explosiveness coming out of that running back room now in a real way that you did not have just months ago on that 2024 roster. And, you missed JCM last year. You and I have discussed it. The ability to maybe make a bowl game rests on his shoulders and his eligibility last year. But having a run game, we saw it tonight. It opened up everything for Noah Fifita. It opened up everything for the offense. And that offensive line, Damon, ooh, Josh Oglesby was kind of cooking. They were doing a really good job of creating wide, gaping holes for the running backs to make it through. And there were lots of times where we're watching this game and Quincy Craig would rip off a huge, long run, and both of our normal reactions would be, wow, what a run by Quincy Craig. And then we'd circle back and watch the replay and say, that was even better blocking by the Arizona offensive line. Quincy Craig just had to accelerate forward, and he had a free 10, 20 yards on some of these plays. So the run game, to me, of the keys, stood out the most. What do you feel on the keys to the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously, like the competency and the coaching staff and just feeling like it's so much different, the vibes around this season than last season is the number one takeaway. But if it's not that, it's the run game, right? Because last season, zero semblance of a run game, zero ability to put the ball on the ground and get those like difficult yards, have the rushing offense somewhat driving your offense in general. But Seth Doege, he stepped in tonight and he immediately established ground game. They talked about it, and Mike Golick Jr. talked about it on the broadcast, Kevin, which also he talked about Sonoran hot dogs, and we might have to talk about that
Shout
later. But Mike Golick Jr. was talking about how, they asked Brent Brennan, why was Seth Doege your choice for offensive coordinator change? And he said, it's the way that they turned a, spread it out, pass the ball around offense into a ground game at Marshall. Seth Doege is an air raid guy, and he had ground principles that he brought in and turned them into a run first offense, and they won their conference because of it. So I think that was important for Brent Brennan, clearly. And tonight you see it, 33 carries, 183 yards on the ground, 4 touchdowns, all from different ball carriers, Kevin. Noah Fifita getting in on the mix, Ishmael Mahdi getting some cleanup time. And I'm sure we'll talk about Ishmael Mahdi as we get into the show here. Quincy Craig looking electric, of course, and Kedrick Reescano, who started and seemed to get the bell carrier share of carries here. But 5.5 yards per carry, Kevin. I love to see it. You're right about the O-line. Like, felt like they really did their jobs tonight. I expect a much more balanced offense in 2025. Off of one game, I feel confident in saying that.
Well, let's talk about the balanced offense, because this is a point I really wanted to get to at the top of today's show. Let's hit our by the numbers presented by Desert Financial Credit Union, Damon. And this one was huge for the Arizona Wildcats. Look at how even this offense was. And you talk about Seth Doege taking that Marshall offense and projecting it into Arizona, into what Tucson has to offer. That is about as even realistically as it gets. 161 passing yards to 183 rushing yards, 344 total yards for the Arizona Wildcats offense. No turnovers is one of the most important parts on this graphic. And we can talk a little bit about this, but I expect a lot of possession times to look like this for the way the Seth Doege wants to play. Up-tempo, high pace. I expect Arizona to trail the possession time a lot this season. On the Hawaii side of things, 6 points, 223 passing yards, rushing yards, only 67 for a total of 290. 5 turnovers, almost maxed out the turnover sword on the Arizona sideline, and a possession time of 35-44, Damon.
Yeah, just unbelievable stats there from the Arizona Wildcats, Kevin. I mean, how could you not be happy with that type of win? You didn't need the passing attack to really do all that much. And that's not to say that they didn't have the ability to. I think, you saw the team come out early. Trey Spivey makes a catch that we've become very accustomed to seeing out of him in practices, but it's good to see it happen in a game. You have the big throw to Brandon Phelps, who makes a nice play there. You see a lot of playing time for an Isaiah Mizell, surprisingly. And you didn't see a whole lot out of obviously Chris Hunter or Luke Wysong necessarily, who I think you would have figured to get a little bit maybe more of the bulk of the targets here, especially with Chris Hudson out in game 1. But didn't need the passing attack tonight. And I think Noah Fifita played a good game, Kevin, but I wouldn't say he played a great game, nor did he need to. Nor should Arizona have needed him to, right? So this is the type of game where you don't need your quarterback to go in there and light the place up and throw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. Like, Fifita's going to have to probably have those games for Arizona this season for the Wildcats to be in some of the more upper echelon Big 12 games. But in these type of games, I love it. Put the ball on the ground, like just kind of, grind them out, make them not want to be in the game with you, and have Noah Fifita with his jersey clean at the end of the night saying, let's do it again next week. You know what I mean?
No, I totally do. And when you're talking about Noah Fifita in this offense, right, underrated in all this conversation is this was the first time out there for the new Seth Doege offense, and it looked pretty smooth. Now, obviously, you have some wrinkles you need to iron out. It was not a perfect offensive, scheme tonight. It wasn't perfect execution either, but there's a lot to work with there, a whole hell of a lot more than there was last year, right? And I think when you're talking about Noah Fifita and his performance, I think it's highlighted by his ability to choose when he wants to use his feet and his ability to evaluate if he really needs to go and scramble for those little bit of extra yards on every play. Like, it wasn't life or death for Noah Fifita on every drop back, and I thought that was a huge improvement, and it speaks to what I was talking about to lead off this show with the offensive line improvement from Josh Oglesby. I thought that was really impressive. I thought Fifita had, for the most part, pretty ample time to deliver the balls and make his reads and things like that. Damon, the wide receiver room, we had a lot of different looks tonight. We pretty much got to see, for the most part, everybody. I know that Chris Hudson did not play, and we didn't get to see a whole lot of, some of the main guys in that room, but we did see a lot of the depth. Gio Richardson, Isaiah Mizell, freshman, getting a lot of PT today. Luke Wysong getting a look. Nunu Watley was making plays out there. And Trey Spivey, his playmaking ability and his ability to high point the ball is unbelievable, Damon. So I think Noah Fifita, he is the same quarterback that we have thought that he was this whole time, right? But what has changed around Noah Fifita is what's around Noah Fifita, right? And I think, like, his performances, especially this season, but in this Hawaii game, I think looked improved because it's a lot more stable of an offense that he's working in, right? I think, like, when you look at what he has around him, it's night and day different than it was from last year, which was a night and day difference from what it was in 2023, right? So I am happy that the Arizona Wildcats have put Noah Fifita in a position to succeed this season, and they've given him a variety of different weapons to do it with.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, was this rotation in any bit surprising for you tonight, Kevin? I mean, they played like 8 guys, and that didn't even include Chris Hudson, who figures to potentially be maybe like the main guy tonight, or not tonight, but moving forward for this team. But yeah, I mean, it feels like potentially like this receiving core is just going to be a total mashup and combination of names here. I mean, you have 8 players that registered a catch tonight. Nunu Watley, Brandon Phelps, Isaiah Mizell, Gio Richardson, Trey Spivey, Luke Wysong, Sam Olsen, and Ishmael Mahdi. Didn't even throw the ball to Chris Hudson, as we mentioned. Chris Hunter doesn't register a catch. Quincy Craig, who Justin Spears has been talking up as a pass-catching running back option, didn't need to catch any screens or anything out of the backfield. I mean, feels like Arizona's passing game was obviously not like the level it needs to be for the season tonight, but feels like they didn't even really go to any of their like top options of their big dogs to kind of air this thing out.
I mean, look, anytime a freshman in Isaiah Mizell, who many fans did not believe would probably see the field until the late second half of tonight's game, he led all Arizona receivers in targets tonight with 4. And they were some pretty impressive catches. That one where I think he jumped about 50 feet high, juggled it twice, and then brought it down was incredibly impressive from a true freshman coming in. So Isaiah Mizell leading tonight with 4 targets, his long catch of 19 yards, 2 for 4 on those targets receptions-wise. I was really impressed with the depth of the Arizona receiving room. That's something that you and I identified in the offseason when we were talking to players and coaches at Big 12 Media Day of like, yes, they're talking a lot about how deep the receiving room is and how many new players they have in there, but we haven't seen it yet, really, with any of them. So how much of that is going to translate to Arizona? And tonight it looked like a lot of it is going to transfer to the Arizona Wildcats roster. And like I said earlier, it only goes to serve Noah Fifita and Seth Doege to help provide a more successful offense if these receivers can go for lack of a better phrase, band for band every night with their talent, right? If they can just, because I want to make this point in regard to the freshmen specifically, but it goes for everybody, right? Like, Brennan was consistent this offseason about, hey, coach, are the freshmen going to play? He's like, if they're good enough, they're going to play. because he knows they're not really in a position to look a gift horse in the mouth. If you have a guy like Isaiah Mizell who can go out and lead you in targets night one, you should use that because you're trying to win football games. And I think that it showed that his word was bond, and because the performances we saw tonight, truly, it must have been whoever looked best in camp most recently played the most against Hawaii. And I think that I'm excited for what Doege can do with these different weapons, because it's not going to look like this every night. You're not going to have Isaiah Mizell lead you in targets every night. You're not going to have Gio Richardson get 3 targets every night. You know what I mean? But you did tonight, and it looked fine. It looked okay. And I think that it gave me a ton of hope for these freshmen as well. And Lost Highway in the chat says you didn't even get to see Kean Burnett tonight either. He didn't even dress up truly. So, yeah, I think it's a huge coup for Arizona's staff that you have this much actual tangible talent in your wide receiver room. Because like you tried to coach me with fantasy football, when you're in the transfer portal, you got to throw darts. You know what I mean? You just got to throw a bunch of darts and see how many you can actually hit the bullseye on. And it's week 1 against Hawaii, so I'm not going to get out ahead of my skis. But what I am saying is you played a tough Mountain West team, and your receiving core held up, and it looked okay. So a huge amount of hope for the versatility in that receiving room.
That's growth, Kevin. That's growth out of you.
It is growth.
The fact that you were able to take that point that I made to you that was so astute and so, groundbreaking, I think, for your world and just to apply it to a different situation. But
that's how you know I was listening.
100%. That is a listener. I do have breaking news, and we're going to get our post-game sound and video, hear what Brent Brennan and some of the players had to say after the win against Hawaii from our guy Coein Kinney, who is boots on the ground, putting in a lot of hard work for us. But Brent Brennan has a lay-on in the press conference, Kevin.
Good.
Thoughts?
Good. Y'all see how many Polynesians were balling out on Arizona Stadium turf tonight? Let's keep that way. Brennan, put on 12 more. I don't give a damn. I think it's tired, but I'm happy that he has one on.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Were you surprised to not see Ishmael Mahdi tonight? Was that something that maybe took you back a little bit? I know that this ground game was kind of everything we dreamed of being and more. But that kind of came in the form of Quincy Craig and his insane performance, of Kedrick Reescano kind of being consistent and going beast mode a couple of times. Had 2 runs in particular where he was just putting people in the dirt and just refusing to go down. But Ishmael Mahdi, the cream of the crop of this running back group, or at least was considered to be by most people that are experts on the matter. Didn't see a whole lot of playing time tonight. He did play and he did warm up. It wasn't like he sat out like a lot of these other guys, like a Chris Hudson or like a Kean Burnett, who just didn't even suit up tonight. And I think are waiting for maybe a game that is a little bit more important. I'm not going to say that they won't suit up for Weber State, but I think that could almost be a dress rehearsal of sorts, whereas this Hawaii game was somewhat serious.
To your point really quick, Justin Spears on Friday's show did talk to us about how the strength and conditioning staff and the recovery staff for this year's team is different than years past, and their mentality towards working guys back from injuries is on the super conservative side. So I think that is probably what we're seeing. I wouldn't worry too much with them not playing tonight. Like you said, I think it's probably them waiting to get a dress rehearsal opportunity upcoming.
Yeah, and Ishmael Mahdi, 6 carries, 23 yards, does get the touchdown, 17 yards of long rush there, 1 catch for -3 yards. So were you surprised to not see much of Ishmael Mahdi tonight?
I was, until I saw Reescano and Craig look the way they looked, and it made a whole lot of sense as to why Ishmael Mahdi wasn't out there. And that's not a slight to Ishmael Mahdi, but it's a compliment to what the duo of Craig and Reescano were able to accomplish out there. Roberto in the chat says it like Quincy Craig was a bomb tonight.
Yeah.
Every time he touched the ball, something was happening. And I think you can't sit a guy like that on the bench. And it's like what I said earlier about Brent Brennan just playing the guys that are most ready for that week. And Quincy Craig was one of the 2 top most ready running backs in Arizona's running back room. And next week it might be Ishmael Mahdi against Weber State. Who knows? But I do think that you cannot sit Quincy Craig and Kedrick Reescano on the bench when they're as hot as they were tonight. But did it surprise me to start the game? Certainly. I think you and I talked about that in live time. Like, we were just like, Where's Ishmael Mahdi? We're getting a lot of Reescano. I'm not mad at it. He's balling out, but where is he? And over the course of the game, the question was answered, and it had nothing to do with him and everything to do with the two guys that were playing ahead of him.
And in particular, Quincy Craig. I mean, I know it's game one. I know it's early, but that feels like a massive hit for this coaching staff. You bring him out of Portland State. Justin has talked about his story a lot on this show. Like, the guy was a third string running back at Mater Dei who was returning kicks and playing slot receiver to just get onto the field. Now he gets an opportunity at a big time program like Arizona, coming from Portland State, and just running with it, man. I mean, seems like whether it was spring practices, fall camp, into now, Quincy Craig just continues to make himself like inevitable and undeniable, where it's like, this guy has to play, and he deserves playing time. He's earned it. And I feel like Quincy Craig definitely, like, after tonight, feeling great about his role on the season in general. Kevin, I want to talk a little bit more about this defense. I want to talk about, some of the players of the game that we're going to give out here, and we're going to do that right after the break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast.
It's the first ad break of the first post-game show of the season, and I got to get you guys right. There's only one way to unwind after your heart pumping from a football Saturday, and that is with our friends over at Pure Edibles. Pure Edibles was founded right here in the Freedom State of Arizona and is available in over 130 dispensaries statewide. There's only about 170, so get your butt into the good 130 dispensaries that do dispense Pure Edibles. You can try any of their candies because they are a full-fledged candy company that just so happens to indulge in the fun kind of gummies. You can do their gummies, their kicks, which are kind of like Starburst, their chews, which is kind of like a caramel, or their hard candies if you're into that kind of thing. Pure Effects, they're listed right there on the tin. You cannot be confused as to what type of vibe you are getting into. It is clearly listed right there, and whether you want CBN, CBG, CBD, or marijuana-derived THC, Pure Edibles has it for you. So go find yourself some Pure Edibles products from, like I said, the over 130 amazing dispensaries that provide Pure Edibles right now.
Please go check out our friends at Pure Edibles, and please hit up a Gila River Resorts and Casinos location, not for us, but do it for you, man. Because, guys, there's no other place to staycation if you're in the great state of Arizona. It's like having Vegas in your backyard, from all of the low to upscale dining options, just like a Vegas casino, to the live table games and slots, the largest sports book in the state of Arizona, the pool with the cabanas. I mean, you name it, man. They have everything you could possibly want at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Oh, I didn't even mention the concert venue, which I've heard is unbelievable. According to my parents, who are, huge concert goers, they would know that kind of thing. Hit up Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Check them out. Do your staycation there right now. They don't have resorts fees for people that are in the state, like state residents of Arizona, so it's nice and perfect for that. You're coming in from out of town to watch maybe an Arizona Wildcats sporting event, but you want to stay at Wild Horse Pass in the meantime. It's right off the freeway. Perfect. Do it right then and there for that. Guys, Gila River Resorts Casinos is the only place to hang out, only place to staycation. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. 4 locations. Wild Horse Pass is my favorite. Kevin right next to V Kiva. I mean, but they got everything. Santan Mountain, Lone Butte, you name it.
Anytime I make a long drive now up here in Phoenix and I'm on the way home, and I reach that big Gila River Casino sign out there by their V Kiva location, it's literally like I'm just like, wow, that is the lighthouse, and I'm nearly home.
You just find yourself kind of veering off to the exit, and then you're like, oh, my bad. I go home after work.
How did I end up playing slots until 3 in the morning? Oh, wow, that's crazy. Sorry about that.
I did want to read some super chats real quick, Kevin. We got a couple. Shout out my Nips Hurt, who is an absolute legend from the D-backs chat, Nationals fan, and apparently an Old Dominion fan. Gotta love how hard Old Dominion fought against Indiana, had their lunch money in the first half. Go Monarchs. I mean, I couldn't say it better myself.
That was
my Nips Hurt. Absolutely incredible showing from the Monarchs today against Indiana. Coming up just short, 27-14. I mean, you guys gave it everything against a team that made the college football playoff last year. Yeah. Be proud of that. Be proud of that. And then, of course, we have June. Holding it strong as always, holding it down. Been a long, memorable day. Be safe going home, gentlemen. We will be. Thank you to Kevin's mother. And then Monkey D. Shane, sorry, I just want to ask if you guys knew Wilbur Wally. I grew up with him and just want to pay respects and say we miss you. No, we do not know Wilbur Wally. Monkey D. Shane, feel free to, enlighten us.
Educate us on this game that we do not know about. But, like you said, respect, and you are missed, Wilbur Wally. But, yeah, Damon.
Run these likes up. Run these likes up.
You already know. And shout out to Nick in the chat, 3 a.m. in New York. We appreciate it. We appreciate the love. Damon, you and I, on this show, we're a little bit degenerates at times. We just like to give out picks. It's just what we do. We're going to make the picks anyway, so why not just give it out? Because in this case, it's free money, Damon. I mean, your best bet for week 1 was an under 30.5 points in the first half, cash. Easy. Arizona first half money line for plus 135 parlay or 25 parlay, cash. And I had Arizona to cover the spread of 15.5 at minus 110. That is a cashed bet slip. Damon, we're just giving out free hits between USF and this. What's next?
Pretty sure there was 0 losses in between there that were given out as well, especially not on the Clemson Tigers who lost today.
Especially not on the Ohio State Texas over.
Yeah, definitely not. No, what? What kind of crazy person would do that? That was an awful bet. They only scored 21 points in that game.
Yeah, dude. Only idiots would have done that. What a dummy.
Well, we give out nothing but winners on this show, but I will say our Arizona Wildcats bets, those are undefeated, much like the Wildcats after tonight's game. And I tweeted it, Kevin, the road to the college football playoff. It started tonight in Tucson. But let's get back to this team. Let's get back to this game. Let's get back to this defense because we talked a lot about the offensive side of the ball. Let's talk about what we saw from the defense tonight. I think in the first half in particular, I was not thrilled with what I was watching necessarily. I know they only give up 6 points. I know that's a good number on paper. I also felt like the yards were a little easy to come by. I felt that Hawaii's run game, which was really is nothing to write home about whatsoever. I felt like they were kind of getting a lot of what they wanted at ease, Kevin. And I didn't love that aspect of things. I felt like Michael Alejado, especially on third downs, was able to really find guys out on the flats. And those guys were then able to catch the ball and take it for a little bit of yards after catch, convert on some of those third downs. I didn't love the first half performance. Second half performance was night and day. They came out flying and came out with energy. I will say they were hitting hard the entire time. The first half was a lot of, I really liked what I saw from Genesis Smith hitting, and Javion Cole had a big hit. There were some pretty nasty hits in there from this defense. They were physical. But this second half, they really just shut things down, and they left no doubt in this game. I think Arizona's offense was clearly good enough to win, but Arizona's defense and the 5 takeaways are the reason that the scoreboard looks like it does at the end of the game.
I'm with you. In the first half, I think I was a little less, for lack of a better word, concerned or whatnot with the first half defensive performance than you were, but I wasn't far from your opinion on that first half defense. I was more so of the opinion that you're installing a lot of new things, a lot of new faces. If Doege's offense had looked a little bit more sputtery at times than it did, I would have given him some grace on that. It's the first week that you're running this system here as the lead coordinator on this side of the ball. So for the defensive side of things, I kind of take that first half with a grain of salt. I see it as a huge building block for Arizona going forward. Now, Big Red 6 in the chat brings up the idea that they almost gave up they gave up pretty much 300 yards to Hawaii in general, which is a problem. And I think that it's like what you were saying, Damon. There were too many easy yardage pickups in the first half, right? Too many runs that really should have been 2 yards end up as 4 yards. Too many runs or too many passes that you have him, he catches the ball behind the line of scrimmage and you let him miss he makes the first guy miss and the second guy comes in and he reaches forward for a couple more yards. You can't have those against Hawaii because those are drive extenders. You know what I mean? And I couldn't pull up in the moment, but in the first half, I feel like their third down percentage was not bad. I think it was 3 for 8 on third downs in the first half for Hawaii. However, to end the game 4 for 14 on third down conversions, which to me, I think shows a lot of improvement in that second half. And it's illustrative of what you were saying. They came out in that second half defensively, Damon, with a mission. And that was to shut this game down and let Hawaii know that the game is over and we're just running this clock down until you guys get on your plane back to the islands. You know what I mean? And I think that when you're looking at this game, Damon, you're looking at this defense, the ability to not let up any touchdowns with this many new faces, with this many moving pieces, with honestly the expectations of what people had coming into this year of this roster, I'm impressed. I really am. I know there were some hiccups throughout, but I really am impressed. And I think that the biggest thing for me defensively was the tonal shift. Like, they were aggressive, they were explosive, they were hard hitting, and it was that for 4 quarters. And I think that when we're talking to Seth Doege and we're talking to Danny Gonzales, and they're talking about how they're playing off of each other, but they're choosing violence. They're purposefully choosing to be nasty, violent units on offense and defense. We saw it tonight. And I think defensively, for all the wrinkles that needed to be worked out, I think the mentality and the aggression kind of covered for that at times in ways that it wouldn't have last year. And so I was really impressed with Arizona defensively, even though it was not perfect by any means.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Landon Sims, Hawaii's leading rusher, ends with 9 carries for 41 yards, 4.6 yards per carry. Pretty solid performance out of a guy in Landon Sims who, I don't think anyone really expected much out of going into this game. And I definitely, wasn't thinking Hawaii's run game was going to look all that competent against Arizona and kind of just the size differential. But they did, especially in that first half. And I felt like every time contact was made, just falling forward like 2-3 extra yards almost every play. And that probably doesn't cut it against a better team, probably doesn't cut it against a Kansas State. Something to clean up. But ultimately, that second half performance, like, I was moved, Kevin. I was moved. I was doing the Vince McMahon tearing up. It was special, that what I was watching out of the boys on in that third quarter in particular. Great to see Gavin Hunter get that interception from Hawaii. Probably played with a ton of those dudes who are on that Rainbow Warriors team. And he gets the pick and like, for a second, were you like, is this about to be a 100+ yard pick six? Because I definitely felt that. But one of Arizona's 5 takeaways today as a defense, just unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. And, you had Chase Kennedy starting things off with that forced fumble. You had Tay Brown's interception, and Coein Kinney tweeted at me, trying to start something, which is fine. I'll press Coein on it when he joins us here on postgame. But he said, "How's that for a play to remember from Tay Brown?" and added me. And it's like, yeah, I guess. I mean, it's game 1. And it's not like I'm rooting against Tay Brown. Love to see the linebackers making some plays. Max Harris, Kevin, we were noting, all solo tackles from Max Harris tonight. Didn't need anybody's help. Don't need nobody. I think 5 solo tackles and 5 tackles from Max Harris. So great stuff out of him as well. 10 tackles from Dalton Johnson, 4 solo, 6 from Javion Cole, 5 from Trey Smith, Kevin. 2 solo there, 1 TFL for Trey Smith. Jabari Mann chips in with 1.5 TFLs, got a sack as well. Genesis Smith with a breakup, 4 total tackles. Dominic Lolesio, gets a half a sack. Deshaun McKnight gets a TFL. Malachi Bailey, Maze Pesci, Chase Kennedy, all with TFLs, and Leroy Palu and Chancellor Owens with a half TFL as well. So, ended up being a real team effort out of this defense. I think this is the perfect way to transition into this, Kevin. We gave out awards for tonight. And it was difficult. It was really difficult. Despite a 40-6 victory for the Arizona Wildcats, Kevin and I struggled kind of putting these awards together, and it felt like a true team win in that sense.
Especially on the defensive end, right, Damon? Yeah. And as we look at these awards that we're going to be tracking from week 1 to week 12 and hopefully into a bowl game, we have our MVP. We have our offensive player of the game, defensive player of the game, transfer player of the game, and breakout player of the game. Now, let's go through these and let's talk about them. MVP, Noah Fifita. And, you might be asking yourself, what about the running backs? What about Quincy Craig? What about Kedrick Reescano? And I would say to you that their performances would not even be relevant if not for the stability that Noah Fifita was providing and the attention that the defense had to pay to him in addition to what they were bringing to the table. Offensive player of the game, Kedrick Reescano over Quincy Craig. Damon, let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, this is more of a product of we have 5 awards to give out, and Quincy Craig just so nicely, like he fit in like an absolute like as if like when someone runs through a wall, Kevin, in a little in a cartoon, and a perfectly shaped human of their body is on the other side of the wall. That's what Quincy Craig was to the newcomer of the week award, and transfer of the week, I should say, because who else could you give it to when kind of talking about the transfer impact tonight other than a Quincy Craig? That's why he gets that. I think Kedrick Reescano like almost represents the ground game for me in that sense, like as the offensive MVP of the night. Like I think the ground game was the MVP of the offensive side of the football, but the team MVP is the quarterback, and it's the guy who keeps you in the game, keeps your offense flowing. And Noah Fifita he had a pretty good game tonight. Despite the fact that he didn't need to do all that much. He gets the rushing touchdown, which was really nice to see. And yeah, I mean, how do you feel about these awards, Kevin? I mean, we'll round things out here. Trey Smith gets defensive player of the game. This one was very tough to put together, as we mentioned. So many good names, so many good games from these players tonight, and really felt like this could have gone to like 6 different people. But Trey Smith, especially early on, especially in that first half when Arizona needed it, was really being impactful. He's finishing some of those plays that they've talked a lot about, and that Joe Salvea, Brent Brennan have talked about him needing to be able to finish this year and get better from last year to this year. He gets that sack, he gets the TFL. Like I think Trey Smith very much deserves it. As did a lot of people, as did Gavin Hunter, as did Genesis Smith, as did Dalton Johnson and Tay Brown. Like really, it was a pick of the litter tonight from a defensive standpoint.
It was. The award should have went to the entire unit, as you alluded to. It was truly a team effort. No one really stood out like in an individual standpoint, right? Many people standing out at different things on the defensive side. Like no one person truly sticking out for any one reason. However, I think Trey Smith, and this is my reasoning I gave to you as to why we should give Trey Smith the defensive player of the game, was because the man stood out the most to me on the television screen, and I think that is the basic barometer for how we should be judging some of these awards, right? I felt like every time I looked up, Trey Smith was playing around in the backfield, and if he wasn't getting a tackle for loss or if he wasn't getting a quarterback hurry, he was beating his man one-on-one, and we can talk about some of the stuff that Danny Gonzales was doing to Michael Alejado to make him, see different things out there, but there were lots of one-on-one opportunities for a pass rush situation, and also a run stopping situation, because he kind of made his presence felt in that realm as well, which is kind of an underrated aspect of his game. So I felt like it was Trey Smith. I feel like he took the expectations that fans had for him in this offseason and gave it right back to us and said, "Here, I've become that player. Like now, all the times I'm beating my guy, I'm turning it into a pressure. Or the times I'm beating my guy, I'm turning it into an explosive play on the defensive side of things." I just felt like he looked like the leader of that line in a real way tonight. And for that, I think I gave him the Defensive Player of the Night award. And like Damon said, there was arguments for countless guys on the defensive end.
We give him the Defensive Player of the Night award,
true,
because this is a collective unit, just like the Arizona Wildcats defense. On any given night, you're going to be saying, hey, what a performance out of Damon Dog tonight. What a performance out of Kevin Thomas. He really carried the show. But on a night one like this, with the energy being brought from both of us, I think this is just a team effort here. But Kevin, I have to say, great game from this defense as a whole. Could have been anybody. We're going Trey Smith. Turn on the tape. That's what we'll just tell people. Watch the tape. Go back and go watch some line of scrimmage play. I know all you ball watchers want to just, what did the wide receivers do? Oh, that's a good running back. Kevin's watching, Trey Smith's get off and just how quick it is, and saying Leonardo DiCaprio meme being like that right there. That's what I want to see out of Trey Smith. And then of course, Quincy Craig, transfer of the week. and Isaiah Mizell, breakout player of the week for leading the team in targets, for a really nice catch, Kevin, that in which he got up, as you said. Probably should have caught it on the initial, touch, but was able to concentrate and hold on to the football, and then makes another nice catch right after that. And despite a couple early targets not necessarily going his way. So shout out Isaiah Mizell for getting some good playing time, and I'm not going to say making the most of it, because, I think he could have maybe done a little bit better potentially, but, making an impact, making a positive impact on this game as a true freshman in a big moment, in a big spot.
Yeah, I think that the two players that truly embodied their awards that they won tonight were Isaiah Mizell and Quincy Craig. I really felt like Quincy Craig stamped that he was the most impactful transfer tonight, at least in this game. And I think that Isaiah Mizell literally broke out from the standpoint of, at least Quincy Craig was considered one of the top guys in the room coming into the year. Isaiah Mizell, and again, no disrespect to him, mostly based on the lack of seniority he has and lack of experience he has, people were assuming that, hey, if it's a blowout, you get some Isaiah Mizell run, right? Or, hey, if you have a couple guys that are gassed, maybe you get Isaiah Mizell in there for a couple plays and you have a play that you really like and you think he can be successful in. No, Isaiah Mizell was a featured part of the offense tonight. And so I think from that standpoint, he literally broke out in a lot of fans' eyes. And so for that reason, I think we did a good job with the awards tracker tonight. Let us know how you feel in the chat. Do you think that Quincy Craig was snubbed? What do you think about the MVP? Let us know here in the chat. Damon and I have a lot more to break down here on the AZ Wildcats Podcast post-game show, including an appearance from the beloved Coein Kinney, who will have some post-game sights and sounds here to wrap this one up at the end. But before we get to that, we have a lot more, like I said, on the AZ Wildcats Podcast. So stick around, drink your water, leave a like, do not go anywhere. And while you're at it, while you're sticking around, head over to Circle K. And now Circle K.
I could use a Circle K run right about now, Kevin.
I could use one so bad, because it's America's thirst stop. And I also need gas, and it's America's fuel stop as well, because Circle K, with that Inner Circle Rewards, you not only get, savings on what they sell inside, you get savings on the fuel they sell outside. 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups when you join that Inner Circle. 3 cents off every single fill-up after that. Until you graduate, take that tassel, turn to the other side, and you get 5 cents off per gallon on every fill-up, plus the random fuel days they throw out there where you can save up to 50 cents off per gallon. That is not a misspoken word by me. Per gallon every once in a while with our friends over at Circle K. When you join that Inner Circle Rewards program, you can look at the meal deal matrix, their drink deals, 3 for $5 28-ounce Gatorades. The list goes on. I'm not going to take up all your time. Join the Inner Circle for free today by downloading the Circle K app. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details.
Kevin, absolutely visit CircleK.com for more details, because it is the only place to gas up. It is the only place to get snacks, get refueled. I made a Circle K stop on my way in, grabbed myself a nice little Red Bull, no free ads, on my way in here when I showed up to work to do this fine postgame show. Another company that you guys know that I rep literally almost every day here on this fine program is our friends at Branded Bills. I got my Branded Bills hat on right now. I got the state outline cap on, rope hat, performance hat. Just feels unbelievable. Feels like a cloud on my head. There's nothing as comfortable as a Branded Bills hat, Kevin. It really is, and you can attest to this. Like, you're not the biggest hat guy in the world.
Mostly on account of my large cranium.
Yeah. Branded Bills hats are the most comfortable hats that you will find out there. And whether it's a snapback, a trucker, a fitted, a beanie, even a t-shirt, they have the ultimate custom apparel for you, your small business, anything that you're trying to rep. Hit up their custom apparel, hit up their campus collection, which of course is you're going to be probably the thing you're most interested in as Wildcats fans, because they have the absolute upper echelon when it comes to Arizona Wildcats hats out there, and there's nothing like it. I saw Jason Gardner at a football game last year wearing Branded Bills, proven right there that it's the best. Tennis team, Branded Bills, you name it. Like, anytime that these guys get the opportunity to take off the brand redacted team issued hat and put on a nice Branded Bills hat, they are doing so, and they are doing so for good reason. Head to brandedbills.com, use promo code BBPHNX, and get 15% off your first order. That's BBPHNX.
And Damon, before we get to Coein Kinney, who should be joining us probably in about 15 minutes with some post-game sights and sounds to talk about what Brent Brennan had to say, what Trey Smith had to say, and a whole lot more. We got to get to Damon's doghouse.
Yes. So this is a segment we're going to be doing all year long, every post-game show. I'm going to be bringing the people an enemy that I have made for life. To put it lightly, I think to put it mildly, that's the best way of saying it, Kevin. I will be making an enemy for life in every game, and said enemy I will put on blast here in the doghouse, the proverbial doghouse, if you will. And tonight, who other than the PHNX Sun Devils guys, Eric Ruby, Anthony Totri. What a disaster class on the Friday show in terms of predicting this performance tonight. Hard for me to be too mad at anybody on Hawaii in particular. Respect their program. Feels like these programs have a lot of connection and a lot of love for one another. Micah Alihado, what a gritty performance out of him. The fans, they showed up tonight. The refs, nothing too crazy. The players all played well. Sam Olsen caught a touchdown. He might be.
Let's talk about it.
He might be the league favorite in terms of being on the doghouse on any given night. But number one Sam Olsen podcast in America, by the way. But yes. Tonight it is the PHNX Sun Devils guys. It is Eric Ruby. It is Anthony Totri, and here's why.
Hawaii at U of A kicking off. I want to say a half hour after Arizona State tomorrow. You're going with.
Are there more total points scored in that game or fans in the stands?
You're going with the Rainbow Warriors tomorrow?
Answer my question. Are there more fans in the stands or points scored collectively in that game?
That's it's a tough one, man. No,
Hawaii's going to win.
That was even.
Hawaii's going to win.
You're going Hawaii.
Fifita is a sleeper
agent.
That
would be objectively so funny if they lost to the Rainbow Warriors, bro.
And they're gonna beat Brent Brennan, and then their coaches are gonna shake hands. They're gonna put a lay on Brent Brennan.
Rainbow Warriors going 2-0 with a big dub over Stanford, and then U of A to start the year. I mean, welcome to the Big 12 Hawaii.
Wah wah. We tried, and it was like a fun little thing and cute little clip that we did for the show, and it was a lot of fun. We all had fun, Kevin, but not even close. The Arizona Wildcats win by almost 5 touchdowns in this one, and there was something there. Anthony Totri said, I believe it was a tough one. Eric Ruby said, is there gonna be more fans in the stands or points scored in the game? Kevin, how many fans are in the stands tonight?
Oh, I think we got it from Justin Spears. 42,423.
Carry the one over, and then
you gotta bring that over. 40, you gotta
6.
Yeah.
46 points. I don't think that's that. Is that close? Is that close to 42,000?
No, maybe we'll have someone in the chat double check our math because that Arizona education, you never know.
Because here's the deal, and here's the thing. I think that this is what they're getting confused and something that didn't register for them, and that's okay. I get it. Arizona State, when they're bad at football, no one shows up.
Facts.
It's a library.
Facts.
People are apathetic. People don't care. You ask any random student on campus, and they go, "What? There was a football game? I had no idea." This is not Arizona State University. This is the University of Arizona. We have a very passionate fan base, a fan base that cares no matter what, a fan base that is not, just totally going to let week 1 be a snooze fest of a game just because the team doesn't have the highest of expectations. We're not handing out free tickets as the number 11 team in the country. Well, in fact, we're getting 42,000 people in the stands for Arizona versus Hawaii, a team that has an over-under of 5.5 wins this year. You're in the doghouse, PHNX Sun Devils. Stay out there all night.
Aroof, 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 aroof. Damon's doghouse. Presented by Damon. I love it.
It's a great point, Mom. It's a great point. The Sun Devils, of course, and their 19-point victory over the Northern Arizona Lumberjacks. It's like, guys, it was a hell of a game out of you guys tonight. I'm thinking Big 12 back-to-back championships for the Sun Devils. I don't know about you, Kevin.
Are they playing College Football 26 or?
I'm
Oh, you meant in real life?
No, I mean, how could you not be fired up about a 3-possession win against NAU?
People got to be talking about it. Who's the better football team, Hawaii or NAU? Is NAU the sleeper of their conference? I mean, they're going toe-to-toe with a team that was in the CFP last year. We need to talk about that. And yeah, I mean, Sam Levitt walking into the game looking like he's about to film an Abercrombie commercial as opposed to go be the QB1 of one of the top universities in the country. I don't know. They're definitely potentially on fraud watch, and we'll see how long it takes for them to find a new turnover thing as well. Kobe brings up in the chat, Utah also.
Yeah, let's do a little
good.
bit around the Big 12 now that we're on the topic here. And we will have Coein Kinney on the show here in a little bit to give us his breakdown of what players and coaches had to say, get some post-game sound in here before we round out this show. But Kevin, around the Big 12 conference scores, obviously, there was the results from yesterday, I'm sorry, not from yesterday, from Thursday. You had UCF beating Jacksonville State by a touchdown. What a performance from UCF beating Jacksonville State, who has a brand new coaching staff. That was where Rich Rod was before this season. So I think we're looking at UCF beating a brand new staff like that with 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns. But I'm feeling great about that UCF game, hearing that. Just straight up. Oklahoma State beats UT Martin 27-7. Houston beats Stephen F. Austin 27-0. Connor Weigman throws for 159 yards and 3 touchdowns in that one, Kevin. Nebraska takes down Brendan Sorsby in Cincinnati 20-17. Cincinnati didn't look good in that one. Another game that I'm highlighting on Arizona's schedule where I'm like, very winnable game for the Wildcats, in my opinion. Kansas, that's a team that looks good. They put it on Wagner 46-7. I know it's Wagner. I know they only played Fresno State last week, but Jalen Daniels looks locked in. And Kevin, you brought up the question on our show like last week or something. How many players on Arizona's schedule do you look at and say that quarterback has a distinct advantage over Noah Fifita? I think I'm ready to say Jalen Daniels is one of the very few quarterbacks on Arizona's schedule that I feel confident in saying is probably just a step above. Baylor, my pick to win the conference, looked pathetic on Friday night, loses to Auburn. That really should have been my doghouse. Clemson/Baylor, because they lost me all of my monies that I didn't put on Arizona, which of course I cashed all of those bets. And then Colorado loses to Georgia Tech, another game where it's like Arizona could very easily win that Colorado game when it comes around. Georgia Tech went on the road at Folsom Field and beat Colorado. And then getting into tonight's action, Arizona wins versus Hawaii by 34 points. Arizona State beats NAU 38-19, just in a dogfight with the Lumberjacks. And what else would you expect, right? I mean, that's a storied program up there in Flagstaff at Northern Arizona. So understandable, 19-point margin of victory for the number 11 team in the country. Back-to-back Big 12 champs. Already chalk it up now. Kansas State beats North Dakota by 3, Kevin? By 3?
Wait, was that the real score?
Kansas State beats North Dakota 38-35. That game is very winnable for the Arizona Wildcats. I'm going to keep saying it. I know I've already crossed off 3 here.
When Arizona beats them, remember where you heard it first, though. And it's the AZ Wildcats podcast.
Yeah.
We've been saying that since the Dublin game.
I looking at these results, I'm feeling 2 things. Let me finish rounding them out, and then I'll hit that. Iowa State beats South Dakota 55-7. Texas Tech beats Arkansas Pine Bluff 67-7. West Virginia beats Robert Morris 45-3. BYU beats Portland State 69-0. Of course, we took Portland State's gem there. And then Utah beats UCLA 43-10, which is kind of goes against the point I'm about to make here. I think this weekend was actually a pretty bad weekend for the Big 12, all things considered. Looking at these scores, UCF in a game with Jacksonville State is not good enough. Nebraska beats Cincinnati, and they didn't look good in doing so. Baylor gets worked by Auburn. Colorado loses to Georgia Tech. ASU doesn't look all that great. Kansas State, another close one, and this time at the hands of North Dakota State. Texas Tech and Iowa State both blow their teams out. So does BYU. And then Utah, the one, I think, gem here of the conference where it's like they went in on the road to a Big Ten school, beat the crap out of UCLA, left no doubt about it. Like Utah, I think you have to take them very seriously. Maybe I was too low on them. Devin Dampier, Kevin, 21 of 25, 206 yards, 2 touchdowns, 16 carries, 87 yards, and a touchdown on the ground. Very good game from Devin Dampier's standpoint.
I'm feeling good about my early inclinations about some of the teams in the Big 12. The two teams, I guess 3, because Arizona counts as one of them, but the 2 non-Arizona schools that I feel really good on my takes coming into the year on are Utah and K-State. I think you'll remember, like, when we were doing our, state of the programs, I'll say, for last week's show, I believe.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. I feel like K-State's kind of due for a regression. And, hey, the season is literally, we're 2 weeks into this, right? So I could look like a fool still. So I'm not trying to take a victory lap too early. However, I feel pretty good about my Utah and K-State takes, that Utah is going to be better than people think, and that K-State's going to be worse than people think. But a lot of football left. Way too much football left for me to make any proclamations like that.
The cream of the crop of this conference has not really looked all that great, in my opinion, thus far. I mean, Kansas State obviously has looked pretty poor. ASU, not the best showing from them tonight. Baylor, I had high expectations for, not good. And then Iowa State and Texas Tech, I think, are the other 2 teams there, and they take care of bad teams and teams that they should take care of. Nothing really to write home about. It's almost like a lose for teams right now, Kevin, where it's like, if you look bad, you're going to get called out for it. And if you win, it's like, who cares? You beat Arkansas Pine Bluff by 60. You want a cookie, Texas Tech? But on the other hand, if they were in a close game, I'd be like, Texas Tech, it's over, guys. So that's just kind of the fun media game that we play on here. But all in all, I think it was kind of a bad weekend for the Big 12. I don't think it was good showings from them. But that being said, that might be bad from the conference's standpoint. I know I tongue-in-cheek said we're going to the college football playoff, but Arizona's not going to go to the college football playoff in 2025. I know. What's good for Arizona is this conference not being as good as maybe we expected it to be. A lot of these really good teams not necessarily showing up. And if Arizona is way more in like the 75th percentile of Big 12 teams than they are in, like, say, the 25th percentile, like maybe was perceived going into the season, that's night and day difference for this record, the record that this team could put together. I don't know, man. I think that despite the conference maybe not getting 2 bids and that not being like all that great for the Big 12, and I want to root for the Big 12 family, I'm excited just in the way that I feel a lot better about some of these games that I felt pretty crappy about early on. Feel great about Baylor, way better about Baylor than I did. Feel way better about Kansas State than I did. Feel way better about Cincinnati. Feel way better about Colorado. Like, all of those games feel winnable to me all of a sudden.
I'm with you, and we do have Coein Kinney here
in the
show with multiple clips from the presser to react to. So leave a like. Don't go anywhere, because I could get really wordy about what Damon was bringing up, but I'll leave that for maybe Monday's show about how Arizona could be a live dog in the Big 12. But stick with us. We got post-game sound from Coein Kinney after this ad break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. And hey, you're betting. You're spending money on beers. You're going out having burgers with the boys or girls or friends or the A's, and you're spending a lot of money because it's football time and it's time to, let some money part from your pockets. But Monarch Money can be your personal CFO. Make sure you're not parting with too much money to make sure you can still pay rent this month. Monarch Money tracks your comings, your goings, your income, your expenses, your goals. They help you track, smash, and hit new goals all the time. I'm using Monarch Money. If I have a new subscription service, it lets me know about it before I even know about it, and I'm the one that signed up for the damn thing. So Monarch Money is on top of your money for you. And if you do not believe me, believe CNBC's top fintech company in the world, that is Monarch Money. So it is also Forbes' best app for couples, because I know I just moved in with my girlfriend. Finances is something we're talking about. And hey, maybe a joint bank account is coming down the pipe. Who knows? But Monarch Money is there for us if we do decide to go that direction. So don't let this financial opportunity slip through your finger cracks. Use code PHNX at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year of money-saving tools. That's 50% off your first 12 months of Monarch Money with code PHNX. So check out monarchmoney.com. And like I said, if you don't believe me, believe the experts.
Kevin, the only experts to go to when it comes to memorabilia, fan gear, getting the best apparel in the business is Rally House. Guys, have you ever gone to a brand redacted competitor, sports apparel store in the mall maybe? I know you guys are probably thinking the one that I'm talking about. And you walk in and you love Arizona sports and you say, what in the hell is this Dodgers section doing in the very front of the store?
Get it out of there!
Rally House is going to take that and mitigate that disaster completely because they only have Arizona sports in there. They specialize in Arizona sports. And the only thing that they're going to do in terms of maybe, poking some rivals here is at the Tempe Marketplace Rally House location, maybe their main location they have here in the Valley. Kevin, they got Arizona gear, Arizona Wildcats gear in Tempe, Arizona. If that's not as Arizona as it gets, then I don't know what is. Rally House, the only place to get your Arizona apparel, whether it's Arizona Wildcats, Arizona Diamondbacks, Phoenix Suns, Arizona Cardinals, you name it, guys. Hit up Rally House, the ultimate place to get your game day needs taken care of. They only care about Arizona sports teams, and every time you visit a Rally House, you're guaranteed to find something new, unique, and matches your game day vibe. Find the local Rally House location near you. Shop the entire product assortment online at rallyhouse.com today. 3 Valley locations, west, east, central, something for everybody. And
3 Valley locations, 3 legends on your screen right now. We got Coein Kinney reporting live from Arizona Stadium. How are we doing, Coein?
Good, man. Did we just not watch some pretty exciting football, from U of A? What are we talking about right now? This is just insane work right now. But super excited to be here. I was I think I tweeted a reply or something like that it was halftime and I wasn't falling asleep on my computer yet. So good things, good news, good vibes, and lots of touchdowns were scored in this field right before me. So can't complain too much. How about you guys?
It's amazing what one bad college football season can do to a fan base, considering 2 years ago, we were on cloud 9. The off season is rainbows and unicorns and butterflies. And now, after one off season, we're sitting here going, competent football on my screen. I watched it happen. Wasn't that amazing? I mean, it really is just goes to show the turmoils of being a college football fan, especially an Arizona fan.
Absolutely. I think this game, honestly, felt to me like a love letter to the fans that had to sit through last season. It felt a lot like what, we've come to expect during the 2023 season. There was 5 takeaways on this field today. I think the most since the 4 that were in the Alamo Bowl and to cap off that fantastic season. So it feels like all these things from the past are coming back, and it's like, okay, we got some momentum going. We got some energy here. So, we'll see how it goes, but a good start to the season nonetheless.
Coein, a lot of energy tonight from the team, especially that defense. I think from a hitting standpoint, and especially in that second half when they came out there. But how was the energy in the stadium tonight from the crowd? Did you was it every bit of the 42,000 in the stands that Justin Spears tweeted about?
And why did Hannah Fields carry the fan base?
All that going on with what is it? What show is that? I don't even know
Love
what it
Island
is. But
season 7. It's the most
Okay.
brain dead show maybe of all time ever, but she's super famous, so I get it.
Coein,
Okay.
not a Love Island guy. Confirmed.
Dude, there was I haven't felt more stupid in my life than when she showed up on the billboard and the crowd, the whole stadium erupted, and I'm like, what am I doing right now? This is crazy. But yeah, just blowing up on social media and all that stuff. But the energy in the crowd, I got to say, it was surprising to say the least. I feel like most of the time at the beginning of these Arizona games, the crowd is, the Zona Zoo always shows up and that's cool. But, you got people up in the stands that are just blank seating, and I looked, I think in the middle of the second quarter, I think is when I panned the stadium again. And I was like, okay, some of these seats had actually gotten filled. 42,000 and whatever it was, I'm not exactly sure. But they made themselves present. You could definitely hear them. The first couple of big takeaways and defensive plays, the crowd was going nuts. They have this towel that they're doing now, kind of akin to what the Steelers do, the terrible towel.
Shout out to Kobe.
So yeah, exactly. So the Tucson towel, I don't know what we're calling it, but it's cool. It's some new kind of tradition we got going on here, hopefully. But energy was electric here in the stadium, and fit the play on the field.
Tucson towel is not half bad. I think you got to get out ahead of that before someone thinks of it, says it out loud, louder than you did on this show. But I wanted to ask you a little bit more about that energy piece, right? Because Damon and I were talking about like Hawaii. Did they appear ready for the Arizona Stadium environment? Like, I know that it's not like one of the most terrifying places in the country to play. However, this is a big step up in competition for them, and they have a hobbled quarterback on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
Did it seem like they were out of sorts in person to begin with, or is that truly kind of how it wore on throughout the game?
No, absolutely. I think you got to factor in the travel that they had to take, because that's, I mean, what is it, like 6.5 hours ish to get from Hawaii to here. So you got to count that in. I couldn't imagine, being a player on that team or a coach in that team and having to travel that far of a distance to get to all your away games. So maybe that played a factor into it, adjusting to the time zone and not being fully prepared. It seemed like they came into the game a little bit better off than it lasted. It definitely felt like the hits and the takeaways and the piling on, for lack of a better term, from Arizona just kind of weighed down on them, to be honest. So I think they probably came as prepared as they could have, but circumstances, pushed that kind of and made it harder on them. So
you kind of bring that up. It felt like, and Damon and I spoke about this in the first half of the show, it felt like the defense really worked up a lather throughout the game. It felt like they started out with a good foundation to build on, but in that second half, they really were firing on all cylinders, shutting Hawaii out, not allowing a single touchdown. Do you think, what was your evaluation of that defensive performance tonight, right? Do you think that it was Arizona, like you said, that snowball really accumulating over time and just eventually rolling over Hawaii? Do you think that this is something replicable going forward for the Wildcats?
I definitely do think so. I think the coaching staff changes over the offseason, bringing or promoting Danny Gonzales to defensive coordinator, which I think, honestly, like Dwayne Aquina is a good coach. I think you could put a lot of stock into the fact that maybe he was just coaching out of position, if that makes sense. You have players playing out of position sometimes. I think you can have coaches coaching out of position. I think definitely he's more suited. He's a legendary defensive backs coach, and I don't want to take anything away from that. But I think when you compare him to Danny Gonzales, I think there's definitely a bridge, at least at this point in time. So when you promote a guy like Danny Gonzales and you inbred his philosophy onto these kids, which we heard a lot about when we spoke to Trey Smith and Tay Brown following the game in the press conference. They just felt like they were talking to us differently. I've never seen this side of Trey Brown where he's like Trey Smith, where he feels almost psychotic, for lack of a better word, just absolutely, built to get after the quarterback and after the opposing running backs. So I don't know, man. I think this defense is the coaching of the defense has been taken to the next level. And I think that could definitely, man, you add on the fact that they were really beat up tonight too. Like going into it, I didn't expect all these injuries to be in place before the game, but you see people like Riley Wilson, who was expected to be a contributor, for example, coming out just with his jersey on, no pads. Even on offense, guys like Chris Hunter, Chris Hudson, those are your top 3 receivers you thought going into the season. You were without them. You still scored 40. I mean, I think it's a testament to how this team has added much needed depth in the offseason, that when you're playing that depth, you're forced to start them all, that it looks like this. Like what's it going to look like when the starters come back and they actually play the roles that you went through spring and fall camp designed for them to. So I think, Arizona's in a good spot right now. They obviously need to get healthy, but the coaching difference is apparent this season.
Let's hear from Trey Smith on this new defensive mentality and kind of Coach Gonzales and his staff.
I would 100% agree with that. Just the execution piece is right, because you want to suffocate the opponents. So a lack of execution, kind of allows for hope and that battle of momentum I was just talking to you guys about. And we just got to be on top of it, make all these errors right.
He wants to suffocate the opponents. Like that is, you did not see none of that last year. I'm going to be honest. So that's just night and day. You can tell. He seems fired up to get after it. And he was asked a question. He responded to a question that was about, Coach Brennan was asked, what are the negatives you take away from this game? And he definitely gave some that he would have preferred they handled better today. But Trey Smith agreed with that. And he said, he answered just like you saw in the video, just it feels like there's like been a facelift of this defense, this offense. Like I said, it feels like there's so much new identities instilled to these kids.
I said it earlier in the show, like the biggest change defensively, obviously there were a ton you could identify, but I think the biggest one tonight was there was a tonality shift on defense. And we heard it all offseason about how they're choosing violence and how they're going to be fast to the ball and we're going to get hats to the ball and all this, right? But I wanted to see it, and we've seen it, and you could tell that they've made a intentional choice to get to the ball as fast as possible and hit whoever has it as hard as they possibly can. And Trey Smith, I was talking to when we did our awards tracker, I'll pull it up right here. I had Trey Smith as the defensive player of the game, and I talked to Damon about it. We made this decision because we are a unit just like this defense. But Trey Smith stuck out the most to us because of the difference in mentality that he was playing with from this year to last year, the explosiveness that he brought to the table, the aggression that he brought to the table. And it's not just him, like you said, it's the whole defense. And I agree with you. I think that stood out some of the most. And I know we also have some audio from Tay Brown, Cohen. So what did Tay Brown have to say?
Yeah, so Tay Brown was asked, what's it like kind of getting out there and tackling someone and hitting people that aren't your own teammates and stuff like that. So here's what he had to say.
It felt great go out there and hit somebody else. I mean, I feel like every day I practice going against the best. So, I mean, it's definitely prepared us for this moment out here. And I feel like the momentum will carry us into next week. We're going to celebrate it tonight. But tomorrow we're just going to come back ready for Weber State.
Now, Tay Brown ends up, with a good chunk of tackles there, obviously talking about just wanting to hit somebody. Wanted to hit somebody on a running back screen where the ball just kind of lands in his lap and he starts returning it. Now, Cohen, we had a conversation on this podcast about, Tay Brown, is he, with Justin Spears in particular, like what's the big play for Tay Brown? What's the play that you look back on and you say, man, that was the difference maker. That was a real splash play from an Arizona off-ball linebacker. And you kind of threw it in my face with the interception. So what was that about, my guy?
For the record, that was Justin Spears' take. I feel like Damon's kind of catching a stray.
I mean, I just was piggybacking on the greatness and the aura that is Justin Spears in said moment. I agree with you, Kevin. Let's blame Justin Spears entirely for having that take.
Okay, you know what? I will apologize. I didn't know it came from Justin's mouth himself. I will let him hear about it when I see him next, for sure. But Tay Brown, he's a guy that he might not fly around and, jump super high in the air, getting interceptions out of the air. He might not be affecting the quarterback on every single play. But I think he's a guy that he provides you with stability in the middle of that defense where he's going to be around to make the play. Like he was there to blow up the screen, but he was just in the right place at the right time to capitalize on a tipped ball. So I think you can count on that sometimes, just a guy that's going to be consistent for you.
Now, Cohen, we've talked all offseason to Brent Brennan, about Brent Brennan, taking stuff that Brent Brennan has said to other media publications. Like he has been completely different, right? It seems like this entire program's identity led by him is taking a facelift. Did you feel that energy in postgame tonight when he was given his postgame interview with media?
No, absolutely. He sounded different, and both physically and literally, like he sounded like he's been screaming all day, and his voice is kind of wearing out tonight. But literally, he sounds like Brendan, I feel like, has a tendency to be kind of coachy speaky when he talks to the media and stuff like that. I do think there was a sense of that tonight as well, but it just felt like it's almost like he and the team are proud of what they've put on the field tonight because they know they've been putting, hours and days and so much work these past couple months, like into this. Like, this is what they want it to be. This is what they want it to look like. It almost sounds like Brennan was speaking like he finally has ownership of the team and he's proud of what they've accomplished.
Yeah, no, and that's something else we've talked about and on this show this summer was like my idea that this is the same Brent Brennan, but in a different font in a way. And I think Damon and I kind of went back and forth about if that's truly like meaningful or if it's just semantics or what it is. But I do think there's something to that, right? That Brent Brennan is able to say stuff with his chest if Arizona can get some W's this season. He's not having to play the defense all the time. He's able to just be Brent Brennan. He's able to just be the coach that he wants to be, as opposed to a coach playing catch up from a late recruiting cycle, from a late transfer cycle, from a late this, from a late that, because of when he got signed on to be the head coach of Arizona. So I love to hear that from you, Coein. And I know that you have some audio from Brent Brennan. So where do you want to go with that in that direction?
Absolutely. I say, I think a good example of this is kind of what Trey Smith was agreeing with Brennan on, and the fact that even though they had such a dominant and high scoring and high defensive production day here tonight against Hawaii, that he still was able to kind of talk about some mistakes and things like that. So I think we should roll with that one.
I think there's some room to grow there. You know what I mean? I think part of it is we had a couple guys who were unavailable tonight who are impactful players at that position. But I think you also saw some guys do some stuff. You know, you saw some freshmen get in there and mix it up and make some plays. And I think, you know, the more people that we can get on the field and the more, you know, confidence Noah has distributing the football makes it harder for us makes it harder to defend us. And so I thought there were some good moments there. Thought it was really exciting to see, you know, Nunu made a couple nice plays, and so there was some good distribution, you know, with that receiving core. And I think there's room to grow. I think we can continue to develop there and continue to move the football effectively throwing it.
It's been a topic of conversation all offseason about this wide receiver core. How do they improve upon a unit that was pretty lackluster altogether, despite missing out on the GOAT Arizona wide receiver? And, you know, even with some of the maybe perceived leaders in this room not necessarily playing the biggest roles tonight, or in some cases sitting out altogether, you really saw the depth of the wide receivers. As you tweeted, Coein, like they're flexing their depth a little bit, you know, from a wide receiver standpoint, and whether it's Brandon Phelps going out there and catching about a 40-yard pass, whether it's, you know, Isaiah Mizell getting, I think, a team lead in targets tonight.
Correct.
And then also Gio Richardson making a play as well. Like young wide receivers that Arizona fans maybe didn't even have on their radars all that much were out there playing a lot, making plays for this team. Like, I guess just how are you feeling about this wide receiver core after one game?
Optimistic, I guess I should say. You know, I mentioned earlier that they're out of two of their top three options in Chris Hudson and Chris Hunter, and it still looked, you know, fluid. It looked available. It looked possible. It felt like when there was an injury last year, maybe to a tight end, for example, like Kean Burnett, who was banged up quite a bit, it felt like the tight end was almost phased out of the game plan completely, instead of, hey, let's just trickle down to the next guy. We're going to figure it out. We're going to keep pursuing. It almost feels like Seth Doege's scheme and his offense, like, it's so perfectly able to build plays and work around no matter who the personnel is. Like, it works. I don't know. I can't explain how, but no matter who's in there, they can run the same scheme. They can make plays. They can get down the field. And it felt like last year when, you know, Jeremiah Patterson was your receiver too. Like, I don't know. It's crazy that he's like the full-time punt returner now, and that's just all he does for this team. It's like, it's night and day. It's like you bring all these guys in, and a guy like Jeremiah Patterson is now able to go return punts, which he actually did pretty well tonight and had some explosive returns. So it's like, okay, maybe this guy works better here, and then we get different receivers to supplement throughout. So it just looks great. And like they did 3 wide receiver sets a lot of the time tonight. I think they did 4 receiver sets certain times as well. I feel like that was a little rare last year. But granted, last year it just felt like the offense didn't have much of a plan at all. So
part of last year's issue was a weak O-line, and Damon and I were talking earlier about how the explosive runs tonight were incredible. All right, I'm not trying to take anything away from that. But when you watch the replay back, it was made possible by some pretty impressive blocking on that offensive line side of things. What do you see in terms of Josh Ogleby's group, and what did Brent Brennan have to say about that offensive line room tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, the offensive line is generally a new group this year. It's a new combination of pieces. You have some returners and stuff like that, but you're losing Jonah Savignyea, you're losing Josh Baker, you lost Wendell Moy. You're losing all these guys who were, you know, stalwarts for you at the position a year ago. So it's kind of tricky. How do you navigate that? You bring in a lot of transfers. If anyone knows anything about offensive lines, like they're a group, they have to gel, they have to learn each other, they have to grow chemistry as well to perform. You can't just pluck a guard out, put someone else in, and expect it to run the same way. some teams can do that. They can find ways around that. But it's tough. So when you're, pitting together a new offensive line, you have your prized possession and Noah Fifita back there, who was, banged up a lot last year, just getting hit. And it was uncomfortable to watch sometimes because he was getting just violated back there. But some of these new offensive linemen that you added in, to your point, the explosive runs wouldn't have been possible without them. But Brendan kind of spoke about some of the good and the bad with the group.
I think it was good at times, and I think it was inconsistent at times. And so I think that was, it's something that we obviously have some work to do there. But I thought those guys showed up in a great way when we knew coming into this season that we wanted to be more effective running the football. And week 1, we ended up running the football the way we did against a pretty stout front. It's always +1 in the run game. We feel good about that. So those guys are going to continue to grow, to continue to improve. Coach Oglesby is a fantastic football coach. We'll get them right.
Yeah, love that O-line performance tonight against a team that you frankly just have to outperform on the line of scrimmage. You have players that are different caliber of players than a team like Hawaii. And I know that, there's I feel like a lot of people think because Hawaii recruits a lot of Polynesian players that they are just predisposed to having good line of scrimmage play. But the best players on the islands are going to USC, Oregon, Arizona, Utah, BYU. And it's tough for them to really keep these blue chippers, the guys who have just are blessed with this incredible size. And Arizona just did what they had to do, manhandled, inferior players, frankly. But another, situation that we were very much monitoring, Coein, was the situation regarding the running backs tonight. And, it seemed as though all offseason, everybody was pushing Ishmael Mahdi potentially to be the RB1. I don't know that local media was doing that as much because I think local media was very much like, well, it's going to be a lot of Kedrick Reescano. It's going to be a lot of Quincy Craig. But obviously, the national kind of perspective is this Texas State stud that led the college football in all-purpose yards is going to come in and, be the clear starter for the Wildcats. Why did we not see a lot of Ishmael Mahdi tonight, and what did Brent Brennan have to say about that situation?
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely a surprise for me too, sitting in the press box, and it's like, okay, they've given Reescano 3 drives straight without even subbing a running back out. I was expecting there to be more kind of fluctuation and rotation, we'll give you a carry, then we'll give you a carry, kind of like Oprah, we're going to hand out carries to everybody we got. And so I expected more of that. And so when Quincy Craig came in, I was like, okay, we're kind of getting there, but why is Mahdi not in yet? Why are we picking Craig over Mahdi? Granted, Craig had a fantastic game tonight, so more power to the coaching staff for getting them in there. It's tough. I think it got cut off in the clip, but Coach Brennan said they have 3 good backs, and a positive thing to take away from having 3 good backs is that you feel comfortable kind of interchanging them and maybe starting one this game and playing him more, and maybe starting that one another game and playing them more. So yeah.
I promise you by the end of the season we're going to need them all. We needed them all tonight, and so I think the world oftentimes gets fixated on this one back, and we give this one back the ball all the time. But that's not been my experience in football. You always need more than one because they take too much of a pounding. And as physical as they were running the ball tonight, you're going to need multiple guys. And so I thought when Ish got in there, he did a great job. And so he was coming back. He kind of banged his knee a couple weeks ago, and so he was coming back from that. So those other guys were getting the bulk of the reps leading up to game time. But I thought when he got in there, he showed some stuff, which is not surprising. So we feel good about that running back room. I think those guys are all going to contribute in meaningful ways this season.
Yeah, a lot of good mouths to feed on the running offense side of things, which is a big change from last year. And you even had quarterback Noah Fifita getting in on the mix with a nice little scamper of his own for the touchdown. 4 different touchdown scorers on the ground tonight for Arizona. And honestly, Noah Fifita had a really nice pull earlier in the game on a big 3rd down where he really fooled the defense on that one and was able to kind of really make it look like the ball was moving this way and then had a free run at the 1st down. That's part of kind of that I think making Noah Fifita use his legs when, the opportunity calls for it type of situations, and just letting that guy who is, the brain trust of the entire program really right now, kind of just make big time decisions in big time moments. I love it. I think this ground game is going to be night and day to last season, and really is going to transform what we saw from last season's offense to this season's offense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Coach Doege, when he was at Marshall, he had, I believe, a top 20 rushing attack that last year that got him hired at Arizona. So to me, it's no surprise to see kind of him force and make the run game work, because the run game needs to work for Noah to be successful. We've learned that in the past. And Doege said he was going to have Fifita more involved in the run game. I was curious what that was going to look like. Are we going to have Fifita, have 10 designed carries a game? Is he going to be taken off? Is he going to be having read options? I think you saw a little bit of that, but the times in the game that they came up and they allowed Noah to make the decision, hey, you want to give it off or tuck it, it came off in really important moments, and it actually worked really well. I remember last year there was read option in the middle of the drive. Why not? Let's do it. And then nothing happened, of course. So I think it's more organized this year. There's more kind of intricacy in it, and they have more of a plan in terms of, okay, when are we going to have him get the option to take it himself?
Yeah, I think it's telling the fact that it came in such pivotal moments tonight where he is tucking it and running. We could definitely be in for a lot more of that this season, in my opinion, of maybe they're not designing quarterback runs for a guy who's 5'8", 5'9", and you don't want to see him get hit a bunch. But, if there's an opportunity for Noah Fifita to fool some defenses, I think he's going to take that opportunity when it's given to him. Coein, unbelievable work out of you tonight, my man. An absolute shift. Doing his best Bo Brock impression on the field as well. I know Bo Brock, a personal, hero of Coein Kinney's, fan of the PHNX Cardinals podcast. But great work out of you, Coein. We appreciate you, my man. You can follow Coein at Coein Kinney. That is, of course, CoeinKinney. Follow Coein Kinney. He's doing great work. He's posting all sorts of video and pregame stuff, postgame stuff. You're going to want to follow him if you're an Arizona Wildcats fan. And of course, just do so for the shift that he's been putting in for us. But appreciate you, my man. And we will talk to you next Saturday after a Weber State postgame.
Absolutely. Super excited for it. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, for sure. That was Coein Kinney of course, of the AZ Wildcats podcast. One of our own, one of us. Kevin, what a game for the Arizona Wildcats. 1-0, undefeated. The road to the college football playoff starts in Tucson, and it started tonight in way of 40-6. The Arizona Wildcats take down the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. I think it was everything that we possibly could have hoped for and truly expected going into this one, Kevin. Just wanted to see a win where things were put together. It was a balanced team effort. You saw it from a passing standpoint. You saw it from a rushing standpoint. You saw the defense show up and play physical. You saw the coaching staff answer the call. And as I talked about in our pregame show, truly look like they were a better coaching staff than the guys on the other end. And, it leads to a 34-point victory.
I mean, look, Sergio says it in the chat. It's about 1 a.m. here, local time, and we almost got 50 people here in the chat talking Arizona football, and I love each and every one of you guys that are tuned in and locked in on a late night. Some places even later. I know we got some East Coast listeners and viewers as well, so
Crazy
shout out
people.
to you.
East Coast lunatics, I think you meant to say.
The diest of the diehards are those people. So we appreciate each and every one of you guys for tapping in with our post-game coverage tonight.
Absolutely.
And I'm locking you in for future post-game coverage that you're going to tap in with as well.
Same time next week?
Same time next week. I love it because we're going to own the night just like Arizona's going to own the night this year, Damon. It has been a great night of coverage. And one more thing before we do get out of here, I wanted to mention the Stars were out and about. And it felt like a big game.
You're telling me.
It felt like a big game. When you got Koa Pete, Carter Bryant, T-Mac, the lady from Love
Hannah
Island.
from Love Island.
Shout out to her. The stars were out and about, Damon, and the best part is if you go right now to Carter Bryant and Cole Pete's Instagram stories, they weren't like down tucked away in the little suite on the sideline where you can't touch them or can't get to them. They're like in the Zona Zoo. They're with the people.
Yeah.
And I love that. I absolutely love that. I think Braden Burry's muse was in attendance as well. All the stars were truly out and about, Damon. So shout out to Arizona Athletics for getting the fan engagement initiatives to a point where they actually worked. Dare I say? You had 42,000 plus people in attendance for a team that had a horrendous year last year and overwent a ton of change and a ton of uncertainty coming into this season. You got the stars coming out for the Arizona football program, and you got the fans coming out for the Arizona football program. So I think DRF deserves a round of applause tonight. I think Arizona Athletics deserves a round of applause tonight. Arizona football program, among all else, gets a round of applause. Micah Alejado, one last round of applause coming out of me, goes to him. Unbelievable toughness.
Any more rounds of applause?
No, that was the last one.
To give out?
Mike Golick Jr. for eating a Sonoran dog on national TV.
That's one
Damon for holding up the 4 when it became fourth quarter.
Of course, every fourth quarter, 4's up. But
that's all.
I wanted to leave you with this, Kevin, and we can end the conversation here. One game in to year 2 of Brent Brennan ball. What's our temperature check? How are we feeling?
Feeling good.
Is this the future, or is this you're still kind of like, I need to see a lot more before I'm comfortable with the state of the program?
I mean, look, I want you to continue to do these temperature checks. However,
we're
personally,
gonna do it every week.
Yeah, me personally though, I think that mine's gonna be pretty consistent unless there's some dramatic information that enters my matrix.
We should do like a graph of the temperature check, and meanwhile, this is Kevin's right here. Sorry. This is Kevin's right here, and this is Damon's.
Whoop, 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 whoop,
We're winning it all. This team stinks. Just back to back.
Yeah, because tonight, my opinion on Brent Brennan would have only shifted if they lost or looked horrendous against Hawaii. But average to what we got tonight.
Like I said, it's it's almost a lose scenario for these teams in these games.
Correct, right? Because it was one of my keys to the game.
Yeah,
was make a statement and win by a certain number of touchdowns, right? So I think Brent Brennan did not do anything to really shift my mentality on him that I had in the offseason. He changed my mind already, and I'm in the Brennan bunch, and I think that he is, gotten the right people in tow. Seth Doege, Joe Salavea, Denny Gonzales at DC, Josh Miller, a tight ends coach, greatest coach in America. I think Brent Brennan has put the right people around him for the success to kind of rub off and for this program to potentially become as stable as what he had going at San Jose State, which is out there in San Jose, where it's a lot harder to have a tough, repetitively tough program that has some sort of success. So I have faith in Brent Brennan. That is not changing until something dramatic happens right now, or unless the offense, the wheels fall off for no reason and Seth Doege just forgets how to call plays. I'm in until I'm out right now with Arizona football and Brent Brennan. Where is your temperature check at with BB?
I think it's what Cohen said when he first joined us, and it's that we saw competent football being played tonight from the jump, controlling the game, playing complementary, both sides of the ball. That's the type of stuff I wanted to see. That's the type of stuff I had the biggest question mark about, going into this season. And I feel like I saw that tonight. I feel like they proved to me tonight that this team is bound to be competent, and that last season was more of an anomaly than it was, the bound to be the end product of what a Brent Brennan team looked like. So I'm not sitting here being seriously saying this team is a contender for the Big 12, but seeing some of the other scores around this league, seeing the way Arizona played football tonight, I really truly feel like this team is trending in the right direction, and that, we're looking at a 6-7 win season here. So I don't know. I think you can only say up. Is that the ceiling you want to get to? That's a conversation for a later day and future Damon and Kevin problems to have. But of course, a present problem is that we don't have enough likes on this show. Please run up these likes, people. We appreciate everybody for being here tonight. It's been so much fun. This coverage has been unbelievable. This, start to this season has been unbelievable. Great stuff from our guy, Coein Kinney. Great stuff from my guy, Kevin Thomas, as always, bringing it when his number is called upon. And I am Damon Fairall. That is, we are the AZ Wildcats podcast. Follow Kevin at Kevo Posts. Follow me at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. And follow us at PHNX_Wildcats. Kevin, game 1 out of 12 here for the Arizona Wildcats. This was, your first post-game edition football of this fine program. How we feeling? How we living?
Feeling great. I'm feeling really, really good, Damon. I mean, undefeated, have yet to have lost. I feel great. I'm ready for next Saturday. Shall we do it again?
Coincidence?
Say same time, different opponent, Weber State. How are you feeling?
Let's do it. Mark me down for that, because the Arizona Wildcats take on Weber State Wildcats on Saturday.
Sure.
We're going to be doing pregame again 30 minutes prior to the game. Then we, of course, will do postgame just like tonight. Probably give you an hour to an hour and a half of takes, hot takes for you. And we'll do so 10 to 15 after the game hits 0. I'm Damon Fairall. That is Kevin Thomas. This is the AZ Wildcats podcast, Victorious edition. And we will catch you next time on a Tuesday edition, because we have Monday off for Labor Day, a Tuesday edition at 2 p.m. Of the AZ Wildcats podcast. Until then, peace out. Bear down.
And go Cats, man. Undefeated! Never lost.
We all silly like the mayor.